patient? Well, you can ask the patient. And most patients, they're trying to be honest. Most patients, I think, are honest, but their memories might not be as great as we would hope. They may be trying to pull a fast one on us. They may have just forgotten. So some of the things that you want to think about when you're seeing a new patient is you have access to records right from the beginning on a case. Somebody comes into your office and they said, we were in a motor vehicle collision, we were taken by ambulance to the emergency room. Get those records. Make sure you know what the ambulance driver said was reported as an injury, what the emergency doctor diagnosed as an injury, what the entering complaints were. Because I can tell you, the insurance company is going to look at them. And if we've got entering complaints at the emergency room that say X, and then the patient shows at your office, and you're taking a history that's completely different from how the collision occurred to what the reports of injury were, there's going to be a problem. Now, you all know there's a delay in onset of symptoms sometimes. There may not be all the symptoms right at the emergency room that you're going to see later. But we're talking more about if the emergency room said their left elbow hurt and they come into your office and you're saying the right elbow hurt, we've got a problem. So we want to make sure that you can get everybody on the same page. Maybe the emergency room people took down something wrong. Make sure your records are accurate too. Another source to help you make sure that you're getting an accurate history is, why not ask the patient if they have a family physician, and go ahead and ask for the records for the last year or two. Just kind of see what the patient's been in to the doctor for. Make sure there hasn't been ongoing problems that now the patient's trying to say as part of the accident. You may find that the records are completely clean, that your patient has had an annual physical and reports no problems, and their neck and back are fine for years. That's going to help you show the most likely, the most probable reason. The only reason this person's hurting following the motor vehicle collision is because they were in a collision. Some of the other things you want to talk to your patient about when they come in. Pre-accident records. Have they been in a motor vehicle collision before? If they have, you better find out when it was. You better find out who they saw. You better find out when the doctor released them from care. You better find out whether they got a full release from care. And that brings up a subject that I talk to a lot of. I know a lot of you in the crowd, but I've spoken with a lot of you over certain cases, and that is, in the old days, especially, I would get a report from the chiropractor and they would write down, and this person most likely is going to suffer from this problem for the rest of their life, and they're going to need chiropractic care, once a month for the next 30 years. And listen, there are studies that would back some of that up. But if you put that in a record for one motor vehicle collision, and then your patient ever gets in another motor vehicle collision again, what do you think is going to happen about that pre-existing record? They're going to pull out that old record and say, how did you get hurt in the second one? You were already had a permanent injury. Why should we be held responsible for this? So I guess the word of warning I would state is, and listen, people do get permanently injured in these collisions. If you're going to make a statement about permanent injury, it probably should be thoroughly documented with the pre-existing records, and then it probably should be sent to a specialist that can do impairment ratings under the AMA guides for permanent impairment.